listen to the choir, you would think that the way they are singing, they're on their way to Canaan land. Because they are saying that they are available to serve God. Anybody in here available? And he ain't got to ask you twice or beg you to get in line. Come on. But you're saying, Lord, here I am because I'm available. I feel honored this morning because of the invitation that I received for your great day today. I'm honored because as I looked and saw all the folk who stood coming home one more time. But while we are celebrating those who are coming home, I want you to take a moment and think of those who ain't here. Those who was here last year and those who shouted for God last year, who's gone on home with the Master. I thought about what am I going to preach for homecoming? And we ought to be getting ready for homegoing. But God has a word to encourage you today, coming from the Gospel of St. John and the 6th chapter, beginning with verse 1. I heard somebody said that there's nothing new under the sun. So I ain't coming to you this morning with any new gospel, but I'm coming to remind you of how good God is. St. John chapter 6, beginning with verse 1, we find these words, and I'm going to ask all those who are able to stand to your feet for the reading of the word, if you would, please. And John writes, after these things, Jesus went over the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. And a great multitude followed him because they saw his miracles, which he did on them that were diseased. And Jesus went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was nigh. When Jesus then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he said unto Philip, when shall we buy bread that these eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon's brother, saith unto him, there is a lad here which have 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they among so many? And Jesus said, make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down, in number about 5,000. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down. And likewise the fishes, as much as they would. When they were filled, he said unto his disciples, gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. Therefore they gathered there to get them together and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, and remained over and above unto them that had eaten. Then those men, when they had seen the miracle that Jesus did, said, this is of a truth that prophet that should come unto the world. Ye may be seated. And one of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said unto him, there is a lad which have 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But Peter, y'all don't hear me, said, but what are they among many? That's what I want to use from a topic. What are they among many? We find then in our time that if we live long enough and if we be honest with one another, we can truly say that God has never failed us. We may have failed ourselves and we may have come short of our shortcomings, but God has never failed us. When we look at these verses, we find that in man's eyes it's impossible. But I come to tell you that in God's eyes nothing is impossible. Because God every now and then has to take an occasion to show his power. You see, we got to get to the point where we stop thinking that we got power and know that God has got all power and God will never leave us short. We find in our text that the crowd has been with him all day long. And sometimes we can't keep folk in church 2 hours. But they had been with him all day long, and they had been with him and following him and watching him heal folk with diseases. Listening on the side of the preaching and the teaching. But now it's getting late. The sun is going down, and they have been listening and watching and listening all day long. But Jesus, ain't y'all glad that Jesus got compassion? That he knows what you need. He knows when you need it, and he knows when to get it for you. Y'all ain't got to pray with me. But they had been moving and they had been listening to God. Now Jesus is looking at them. Some may have been here all day from sunrise to sunset. Weary, beaten down, worn out, but they ain't going nowhere. You see, when the gospel is being preached, you ain't going nowhere. When the truth is being told, no matter how long it takes, you ain't going nowhere. The word tells us that this is the only miracle that is recorded by all 4 gospels. Y'all don't hear me? So there must be a significance in the power of Jesus. Matthew, Mark, and Luke shorten it up. But you see, there are some things you can't shorten up. There's some things you got to get the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So John is giving the full detail of 5 barley loaves and 2 fishes. But you notice John said they were little fishes. So I don't want y'all to expect too much because they're little. Y'all don't help me this morning. And so Matthew's gospel says that the disciples said, the time is now past. Send the multitude, y'all don't hear me, away that they may go into the village and buy themselves some victuals. Mark says, come on now, send them away that they may go into the countryside. Y'all don't realize Giant is closed. Safeway is closed. Food Line is closed. So we need to send them somewhere where they can get something to eat. Seemed to me we're in a situation. Y'all don't hear me? The disciples are looking around and said, Philip said, all that we got, even if we buy all of that, it ain't going to be enough. But they don't understand that Jesus got the answer before you ask the question. Y'all don't have it this morning. You see, a lot of time we spend all of our time wanting to ask the question, how? How is Jesus going to feed all these folks? How in the world, not only food, but are we going to get enough water? Y'all don't hear me. They done been here all day long. How is Jesus going to work this thing? I want to let y'all know that every situation you in is an opportunity for God to show his power. Y'all don't have it this morning. I said every situation. I ain't talking about what you think, but I'm saying everything that you go through is an opportunity for God. And the reason God don't get no opportunity because you don't let him in. Don't y'all get quiet on me here. You too busy doing your thing and doing it your way. Sooner or later, the situation gonna get where you can't handle it. Y'all remember? Y'all know it's still on TV. That Clorox commercial. Y'all don't hear me. When that boy is in the bathroom and he's trying to get that belt off, and sooner or later he said, "Mama, we got a situation here." Why? Because the disciples understood that they was in a situation that they could not handle. Whole lot of y'all in here been in situations. And you trying to get that belt loose. And that belt won't come loose no matter how hard you try. But when you call on Jesus, I said when you call on Jesus, every situation is a situation for God to show his miraculous power. When we get to the point that we stop doing it my way. And turn all over to God. God can work miracles. But you know how I find that we don't believe in miracles no more? Some folk even got the nerve to say, that's for them folk back there. In the old days. Oh, yeah? And you don't believe that God will answer. No, you don't. Because if you believe it, you wouldn't got so quiet in here. Come on, somebody. And so I come to let you know that there's nothing too hard for God. Might be too hard for you, but ain't nothing ever too hard for the Lord. Y'all ain't got to pray with me. Anybody in here ever been in a situation? No, y'all ain't. Y'all act like y'all been on the top of the hill all your life. Oh, yes, you do. You act like you ain't nothing ever done happened to me. But anybody in here that done struggle and done have to climb that rough side of the mountain, know that there are times in your life, if it wasn't for Jesus, I say if it wasn't for Jesus, you'd be dead and in your grave. Sometime in your life, you've been so overwhelmed that you didn't want to get up in the morning. But Jesus stopped by. Y'all don't hear me. And so they're listening. And they want to ask the question, but don't want to. Y'all don't hear me. How we going to get through this thing? Have y'all been in that situation? How am I going to make it out of this thing? I done got myself in it. Now I don't know how to get out of it. Well, let me tell you how. Turn it over to Jesus. Somebody say, he'll work it out. Ain't nothing he can't work. Y'all hear me, choir? Ain't nothing he can't do. Situation. And so they are faint, tired. But I want to remind y'all of something. In order to get your blessing, you got to be in the right place. See, some of y'all are out of order. Y'all don't have it this morning. You see, in order for Jesus to bless you, you got to be where you're supposed to be. Oh, and by the way, you can't drag into a blessing. Y'all don't have it. I better say it again. Some of y'all in here dragging. That's why you ain't got no blessing. Because you're behind. God said be here 11, y'all here 11:20. And you got some folk that got up this morning with the intention of coming to Mount Olive. And they're still sitting at home. Why? Some said, well, I don't need the morning service. Because ain't nothing going to happen in the morning service. Comfort ain't going to do nothing but beat us up anyhow. So I'm going to stay for the evening service. Y'all don't hear me now. Because maybe Spencer Isaac might be a little light on me. And so they are going to wait until 3 o'clock. Because see, some of them ain't going to want nobody to see them during lunchtime. Because somebody go, where were you this morning? Oh, y'all don't have me now. Do you realize that when Abraham took his son Isaac to Mount Moriah, and Isaac said, Father, I see the wood. I see everything for the burnt offering. But Father, where is the lamb? Y'all don't hear me? And Abraham replied, and y'all got to get it. Abraham replied, God will provide. Y'all don't hear me? His own lamb. Y'all walking around with lambs that God ain't going to use. No, he ain't. You can't get a blessing with all of that pride, all of that envy, and all of that strife one against another. You ain't going to get your blessing, because in order to get your blessing, you got to learn how to love somebody. How you going to be in the house of God, a house of love, and you don't love nobody? How you going to tell me you going to heaven and going to sing in the heavenly choir and you can't sing with nobody down here? But I've learned that God will supply our inefficiency. Ain't nobody in here walked on water this month. Y'all done got quiet on me here. But there are times in your life that you are going to face impossible situations. Some of y'all in here have been struggling, and ain't no answer done come. And you wondering why, Lord, you ain't answering my prayer. Well, I come to tell you, it ain't time for no answer yet, because you ain't got it right yet. Come on. You usually see a lot of folk want the answer from God, but don't want to do anything to keep straight with God. That's right. You want God to bless, and I mean bless. You even get mad when other folk get more blessing than you get. But you want God to bless, but yet you don't want to live like you ought to live. Elijah made a prophecy that there will be no rain for 3 years. Y'all know the story. And so the rain ceased. And God fed Elijah with a raven. Y'all know this. But one day the brook dried up. Don't y'all know, man, Holland, you ain't careful. One day the brook gonna dry up. And what you gonna do then? What does God say? God said to Elijah, I want you to go down. See, God ain't finished with you yet. See, when you're ready to throw in the towel, God ain't finished yet. Elijah goes down to the widow's house, and she's fixing her last meal. She said, I'm fixing my last meal, and I'm going to give it to my baby, and we're going to lay down and die together. But what does the prophet say? Come on now, give me some. Y'all don't hear me. I guarantee you, if you give me some, it ain't ever going to run out. See, you got to learn that in order to get your blessing, you got to be obedient. She could have said, oh no, that's the last bake I got. You think I'm going to give you some of this last? The last. But I hear Andrew said, I got a lad here, and he got 2 fishes, little fishes, but at least he got 2. Come on. And 5 barley loaves, 5 biscuits. In case you don't know, in scripture time, poor folk ate barley. Well-to-do folk ate wheat. Come on. So even what Jesus was getting from the boy was from the poor folk. 5 barley biscuits and 2 fishes. And Andrew said, Lord, what is that among so many? How are we going to fix this up? We ain't got no money. And I ain't sure that half of them on the hill ain't got no money. Come on. We got to learn, y'all, I want y'all to get this. We got to learn to take our situations out of our own hands. See, the problem that we got, your situation is nothing in your hand. Your problem is impossible in your hand. Your child is a mess in your hand. Y'all ain't got to pray with me. Your home is in trouble in your hand. Your finances are torn up in your hand. The problem is you got to learn to get it out of your hand and put it in Jesus' hand. I know somebody's saying, well, I sure hope he ain't going to be much longer. But the word said that effectual, fervent prayer availeth much. He is our present help in time of trouble. Anybody believe that? Y'all done said that mighty weak. Anybody believe that? I want to tell some weak Christians in here. Stop crying about what you ain't got. And thank God what you got. Because you got so many folk crying about what I ain't got. And the problem is, if you had it, you mess it up. But then Jesus, I ain't going to be much more longer. But then Jesus says in verse 10, y'all, I want y'all to get that. He said, make the men sit down. I want y'all to know they in there by accident now. He didn't just throw it in there and throw it in there. He said, make the men sit down. Somebody going to get mad. Some men going to get mad, but I'm going to have to tell him. Real men don't mind sitting down. Real men don't mind taking orders from other real men. Y'all don't hear me? Because you got to understand that a real woman was a real man. Y'all ain't hear me. You see, the problem is that a real man know his position. He ain't got to worry about nobody taking anything away from him. A real man don't mind sitting down because they know the place and they know the role. Oh, the men that got quiet up in here. Oh, yeah. And a real man don't mind following instruction. But the problem we got too many insecure men. Ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. But I got some news for y'all. Everywhere you go, there's some rules and regulations. On your job, there's some rules and regulations. When you're driving your car, there's some rules and regulations. My question is, if you got to follow the rules outside, why is it you coming in church thinking you can do what you want? Come into the house of God, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And some of y'all take about an hour to get back down to the ground. But when you come in God's house, you don't want to obey anything that belongs to God. I'm going to leave them in alone now. Because I didn't back in this morning. Come on, somebody. But I got to tell it because our problem is, you got to understand, if the men sat down, the women will sit down. And when the women sit down, the children will sit down. Y'all don't have it. You can't get no blessing or miracle meaning. You got to sit down and get a word from God. I done got the men, but I want to talk to some single sisters. Because some of y'all sisters in here are single. If he don't come to church, if he don't love the Lord, you better leave him alone. I know what some of y'all saying. Oh, don't nobody know him like I do. Y'all don't hear me? Well, you think you know him. I got some news. If he won't cry, he gonna make you cry. Y'all ain't got to go with me. Y'all ain't got to go with me. Because our churches are messed up with insecure men. See, I don't mind nobody telling me, I need you to go. What am I going to get upset about? Who is he to tell me? But I come to let you know, men, sit down. Because the word didn't say, Jesus said, suggested him. He said, make them sit down. And that those that don't want to sit down, tell them get on out of the crowd. See, our problem is everybody looking around to see who's going to sit down first. Oh, y'all don't hear me? Now, if Grant sit down, then I'll sit down. Come on. Your miracle ain't predicated on what Grant did. Come on. It's predicated on what you did. That's right. And so he have them sit down. Because the word said, faith come by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Y'all insecure men, we don't want your lady. We don't want your money. We just want to know, are you going to follow the rules? Even in the church, we got some rules. And you got folk bucking at you because you're teaching the word. Yes, you do. I was in a Bible study one evening, and three of the men in there, and I'm teaching from Genesis, and they said, we don't believe that mess. And I just read that mess. Y'all don't hear me. It ain't got nothing about what Comfort said. I'm reading from the word of Almighty God, and we don't believe it. They got up and walked out. Everybody looking around. And I asked them, what y'all looking at? Good riddance. Because if they're in the Word of God, all of us are on one accord. You don't need nobody messing up everything. See, you got some folk too scared to say, go on. If you want to go, go. I know they weaseled on back in about 3 weeks later. Because when you're on the outside, you don't get your blessing. When you contrary to God, you don't get your blessing. When you bucking everything, even what you know is right, you don't get no blessing. And so Jesus says, bring the lad. Bring him in here. And Andrew's still hollering, Lord, what is all that? Set him down on the grass. And after they had sat down, Jesus took the loaves and gave it to the disciples. I want y'all to get this. The God that we serve, multiplied by divide. He had the five, come on now. He had to divide the five, but the more they dished out, the more there was. Y'all don't hear me? See, that's how good God is. The more he gives to you, the more he got to give. And they dish it all out. Do you know that the man by the pool of Siloam would never got a miracle if he hadn't did it? Y'all know the old saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Y'all know the saying. We got a whole lot of horses in here who ain't drinking. God done brought you to the water, living water, everlasting water, and we ain't drinking. He done bless you, and you don't want to drink. I don't know about y'all, I'm going to drink all I can drink. Old saying said, till my cup run over. And if you don't want to drink, I'll borrow your cup. Y'all don't hear me. Why? Because the blessings of the Lord. You can't beat the blessings of God. The woman with the issue of blood. If she had never come out the house, she wouldn't have got no miracle. If she had word about who gonna see it. Y'all hear me? I see some of y'all in church worried about who's looking at you. That's right. And what they gonna say. Come on. But I come to let you know, if you getting a blessing from God, let them talk all the way. But I'm sure all they want to say. I'm getting mine. That's right. You got to get yours. That's right. When you start worrying about everybody else, you ain't gonna get no blessing. Don't you know they can't stop you from getting it, and they can't take it away? Anybody in here been through something? I mean, really been through something? Anybody in here been here so low that you were lower than the belly of the snake? Yet when you cried to Jesus, he answered your prayer. Once they had finished, Jesus told the 12, pick up everything that's left. Y'all don't hear me? Have you ever wondered why there were 12 baskets? For them 12 doubting disciples, they had to touch the reality of the miracle. Y'all don't hear me? Oh yes, sometimes you got to touch the reality of what you have denied in the first place. That's right. Fill it up Let them get everything that they need. You know, when I was fixing this up, I was thinking about today and this afternoon. Y'all don't hear me. If some of you were in the crowd, some of y'all would probably pick some place to take home. If your purse was big enough, you would stuff some down in there. And some of y'all don't want to be honest, go through the line, eat so fast, go back as if you ain't never had none before. Now, I don't want y'all to think that I'm talking about folk who put it in the trunk. Because you got to understand that what's going in your trunk is an added blessing. You ain't got to cook them all. Y'all don't hear me. And what you put away today will hold you tomorrow. And some of y'all going to leave here today, going to put some stuff in the trunk. Oh, yes, you are. You see, if there's anything left over, somebody going to put something in the trunk. But I got some news for y'all. If I'm able, I'm looking for something in my trunk. Because if the blessing is going around, y'all don't hear me? Ain't no need of me having to cook tomorrow if I ain't got it. That's why I said don't get upset, because I'm in the same boat y'all are. I'm looking for an added blessing too. But the truth of the matter is, church, that when we serve God, you always going to have trouble. You always going to have struggles. But you can't let your struggles get you down. Because I don't know about y'all, but he woke me up this morning. And I was clothed in my right mind, had my mind stayed on Jesus. Anybody in here got your mind stayed on Jesus? Why? Because after all he's done for me, my soul cries out, hallelujah! Thank God for saving me. You ain't got no testimony. Y'all sitting there like y'all don't know what I'm talking about. Somebody in here ought to have a testimony about what God has done for you. How he done made a way out of no way. How he done brought you a mighty long way. Somebody ought to have a testimony. I got one. He healed me. He's provided for me. He's made a way for me. When the devil thought he had me. Y'all don't hear me? Anybody been there? In that situation where the devil thought he had you? Y'all been saved too long. Somebody here ought to remember. And he snatched you. I'm talking about Jesus snatched you out of the hands of the devil. He snatched you when nobody else could do any harm to you. And you sitting in here and can't praise him. You can't shout, you can't clap a hand, you can't say amen. After all that he has done for you. You ain't been on top of the mountain all your life now, come on. And some of y'all ain't been up there but 15 minutes. And act like you've been up there for 20 years. Because you have let the devil get to your head. Somebody, I'm going to close with this. Somebody ought to tell Jesus, thank you. don't care whatever else you get today, you ought to say thank you. Why? Because it's Jesus in the morning, Jesus at the midnight, Jesus in the morning. Ain't nothing like that name. Jesus. Some of y'all scared to say Jesus. Some of y'all got it at the tip of your throat, but you don't want it to come out. I dare you to say Jesus. How sweet that name, Jesus. How sweet. I'm going to sit down now, but I just want to leave you one more thing. And that's to let you know that Jesus specializes. I said he specializes. I don't care what your problem is. I don't care what you're going through. My Jesus specializes. Oh, the devil telling you, y'all listen to that mess. Let me tell y'all something. When you've been in this thing long enough, and you done been through something for real, and you know that you done went to mama, daddy, aunts, uncles, friends, and they couldn't do you no good. But Jesus specialized. But he can do what no other can do. You need to know, no matter the situation, Jesus, sweet Jesus, lovely Jesus, my Jesus, your Jesus, not our Jesus, choir members, Jesus. He specialized in what no other can do. Do you believe it? Do you believe it? You know, I say it every now and then. I don't think I'm going to say it this morning. Hand clapping all right, but every now and then, Jesus is looking for some lip sync. Yes. Can somebody in here say thank you? Thank you. Jesus. Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Because everybody ain't clapping. They're going through the motion. Oh, y'all don't hear me. But they ain't really clapping to God. Y'all don't know. They clap at ball games. All right. Yes, sir. And they'll jump up and holler. When Harper hit that home run the other night, everybody in the stands was hollering and jumping. And I thought to myself, what if we got the Mount Olive on Sunday? And everybody in the house was hollering and jumping for Jesus. Y'all think Harper hit a home run? Let me tell you, Friday evening, place called Golgotha, Jesus hit a home run, got up on Sunday morning, and hit another home run. Woo! 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 Somebody ought to be shouting in here this morning. Somebody in here ought to be shouting this morning. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Woo! Ain't nothing like Jesus. Ain't nothing like that name. Why? There's power in that name. Power. Wonders working power. Y'all can play with that thing all you want. I'm going to call him. I'm going to call him. Y'all can sit there, look silly. But I know what he's done. For me. Has he done anything for you? 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 Has he done anything? I ain't talking about no whole lot, just anything. You ought to praise him if he done something for you. Woo! He done something for me. And when I leave here today, I know that God is real. Because one time in my life, I was just like Andrew. How in the world are you going to do so much with so little? But my God knows how to stretch. That's right. See, you ain't been nowhere until God done have to stretch. Woke up this morning, sunshine, got in your car, you ain't had to stretch. But before the sun goes down, you might be in trouble. And God has to stretch what you can't see. Because faith ain't got nothing to do with you seeing. It's what you can't see. And the disciples could not see. They couldn't see. You can't see if you don't believe. I know somebody talking about, I believe in the Lord. Come on. The only reason you believe in him because you ain't had to call him. Because if you have been stretched, then you know what I'm talking about. What God can do and will do for you. Some of y'all living too easy because you ain't being stretched. Anybody been stretched on your sick bed? Anybody been stretched when your funds got low? Because if you've been stretched, you can't help but give God praise. If you really been stretched, you can't help it. I know the world think you're crazy, but you got to tell it. You got to tell it if you've been stretched. Some of y'all ain't been as stretched as far as you think. But if y'all keep listening to Pennsylvania Avenue, somebody in here gonna start getting stretched. Y'all notice I ain't call no names. I didn't identify anybody. Because Pennsylvania Avenue runs a long way. Let y'all know what I'm talking about. Come on now. Don't be surprised if the church don't start being stretched. Don't be surprised. But I'm going to sit down with this word. God got all power in his hand. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. That's why that first psalm said, you can bend me, but you can't break me. Why? My roots are too deep. Anybody got some deep roots? Yeah. Even though you're being stretched. God. Have you ever thought about like a tree planted by the river and the roots down in, it ain't in the ground, it's in the water. See, there's life in the water. That's good. Ain't no life pipe in the ground. Y'all don't hear me. But you need some living water to bide you over. Anybody want some water? I ain't talking about Deer Park. Talking about the living water that runs from the fountain, filled with blood, drawn from Emmanuel's vein. Anybody want any water? God specializes. Yes, he does. I know sometimes you get weak and wonder, where is he? He's right here. All you got to do is call. Don't get so proud that you can't call. Y'all get on the phone and gossip half the night. Why can't you get on the hotline and call Jesus? Call him up. Tell him what you want. That's why that song said, Jesus on the main line. Call him up. Call him up. Tell him what you want. That's all you got to do. Just call him up. I'm going to ask my choir to get ready. I think I done said enough. Because there are times in our lives that's going to be struggling. Don't let nobody fool you. And when you are on top of the mountain, I want y'all to get this. Don't get so comfortable because the devil going to try to knock you off. Oh, yes, he is. That's why you got to stay prayed up. Pray without ceasing. That means continually. Because I know this morning when I was coming down that road, I had to pray hard. Because folks driving like maniacs. Y'all don't hear me. I don't know about y'all, but I needed to make it to Mount Olive this morning. And I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to pray hard going back because I want to get back home. Y'all don't hear me. Why? Because God is able. Y'all hear me? He is able. Don't ever give up. Don't let nobody fool you. Don't ever give up. So once you give up, Satan said, well, I ain't got to worry about him. Let me see the next one I can find. But if you don't give up, see, y'all need to learn.